The CEO dragged a stranger into her room and said, "This is my fiancé." The mistake Zayn knocked on the door of Suite 1742 holding a keycard that shouldn't have worked. The hotel staff had sent him to retrieve his phone, which had been delivered to the wrong floor by a confused bellhop. The door swung open before he could speak. Inside, a woman in a tailored black dress stood frozen. Behind her, 3 people sat in leather chairs like judges at a tribunal. The woman locked eyes with Zayn. In a split second, she grabbed his wrist, dragged him across the threshold, and slammed the door. She positioned him beside her like a human shield and announced to the room, "This is my fiancé." Zayn stood frozen. He realized in that terrible instant that he had just walked into a war. 36 hours earlier, Zayn Garrett was just a man trying to survive. At 36, he worked brutal night shifts at a warehouse to support his 7-year-old daughter, Bridget. He was at this luxury hotel for a job interview the next morning, a facility management role that could change their lives. Matilda Hart, the woman holding his arm, was the 34-year-old CEO of a massive real estate empire. But she was suffocating. Her cruel stepmother, Constance, was forcing her into a marriage with a corrupt rival named Dermot Vale. It was a business merger disguised as an engagement. If Matilda didn't sign the papers tonight, she would lose her company. Then Zayn knocked. It was an innocent mistake, but Matilda saw an exit. Dermot laughed at Zayn's worn jacket. "I broke single dad? This is pathetic, Matilda." Matilda didn't flinch. "That is exactly why I chose him. Unlike you, he doesn't need my money to feel important." She pulled Zayn into a side room and begged him, "Pretend to be my fiancé for 2 weeks. Just until the merger is safe." When he hesitated, she offered to pay his rent for 6 months. Zayn thought of Bridget, of the eviction notices, of the struggle. "I have conditions," he said firmly. "My daughter is not a prop, and the second you break your word, I'm gone." The next morning, the plan fell apart. Bridget's babysitter canceled. Zayn couldn't leave his daughter alone, so he had to bring her to the hotel. Matilda found Bridget sitting on the bed in Zayn's room, clutching a stuffed rabbit. "Are you really going to marry my dad?" Bridget asked with the heartbreaking honesty of a child. Matilda felt ashamed. "It's complicated," she lied. "Grown-ups always say that," Bridget whispered. "My dad says lying makes people lonely." Matilda looked at this small family, Zayn brushing Bridget's hair, checking her stuffed animal, and realized she had never known real love, only transactions. But Dermot's spies were watching. They saw the child. They planned to leak a story that Zayn was a con artist using his daughter to scam a rich CEO. The night before the board meeting, Matilda panicked. She found Zayn staring out the window. Terrified of losing everything, she lashed out. "You're just doing this for the money, right?" She snapped. "That's all this is." Zayn turned to her, disappointed. "I'm doing this so my daughter doesn't lose her home. There's a difference between needing money to survive and wanting money to own things." "I thought you understood that." He walked out. Matilda sat in the dark and cried. The next day, Dermot played his hand. He sent photos to the board claiming to show Zayn taking bribes. He accused Matilda of fraud. Zayn was supposed to be gone. But in the hallway, Bridget heard staff saying her dad was going to be arrested. She started to cry. "Did you do something wrong, Dad?" Zayn looked at his terrified daughter. He couldn't run. He grabbed his old work portfolio and walked into the boardroom. The room went silent. Zayn didn't look like a fake fiancé anymore. He looked like a man with nothing to lose. "These photos are fake," Zayn announced. He plugged his old laptop into the screen. What Dermot didn't know was that years ago, Zayn was a high-level systems analyst. He knew how security logs worked. "This timestamp says 9 p.m., Zayn explained calmly. "But the lighting in the lobby matches the afternoon feed. Someone spliced the footage." He pulled up the access logs. And these files were altered by an ID code belonging to Dermot's staff. Dermot jumped up, furious. "You're nobody. You're just a broke nobody." Matilda stood up. "That nobody has more dignity than you have in your entire body." She exposed Constance's blackmail letters. The board turned on them. Dermot was removed and Constance lost her power. Zayn packed his bag. The deal was done. "Thank you," Matilda said in the hallway. "I used you. And that was wrong. You deserved better people in your life," Zayn said gently. Bridget ran up to them. "If you aren't lying anymore, can you come have dinner with us?" Matilda looked at the single dad and the little girl who had saved her. "One dinner," she agreed. "No cameras. Just people." 3 weeks later, Matilda showed up at their small apartment with takeout and no security. She hired Zayn for a legitimate job in building management, one he earned with his skills. It wasn't a fairy tale ending with a grand wedding. It was something better. It was an honest beginning. A door opened by mistake had become an exit from loneliness for all three of them. Moral of the story: never judge a person by their bank account. Sometimes the person with the least in their pocket has the most to give.